Says, hello, Sean. Thank you for assigning an excellent teacher to me. Thanks to their guidance, I achieved a wonderful CELPIP score. Today, I received my invitation to Canadian PR. Congratulations, Mr. Student. And these kinds of emails just absolutely make me elated. If you want to be one of these people who achieve your Canadian immigration dreams, contact us for classes and training like this for CELPIP. We'll set you up with the best experts in Canada. Now, we're going to talk about CELPIP writing. We're going to talk about the body paragraphs. Body paragraphs for Task 2 and for Task 1 give you the most marks. But if you screw it up, you lose the most marks here. So these have the most amount of words. How you describe them completely affects what marks you get. Let's talk about Task 2. There are two approaches here. You can use 1 point per body paragraph or 2 points per body paragraph. Now here, what you will see is if you do 1 point in body 1, body 2, you're going to use a complex sentence to get started. Complex sentences break down the sentence into 2 parts. So that's what we'll see here. Now let's say the question is, should we teach English, option A, or should we teach or put more focus on mathematics in schools? You choose English. So when you have given your opinion already in the intro, you go to your body 1. You want to start with a really good first impression and use something like considering the jobs and career prospects all over the world, comma, your next clause. Teaching English language is imperative in schools. You can use also given the job prospects, based on the job prospects, and that's how you start a complex sentence. You get the complex sentence out of the way, you get your mark for that, and you also build a very strong start with a good first impression. Now your next sentence is supposed to be a shorter, a simpler sentence, which gives a little bit more detail. You could say something like, the current world situation has placed English as the universal language used heavily in jobs and businesses. Just one sentence that further explains the idea given earlier. So that's your second sentence in this body. Now the third sentence would be, for example, in body 1 or for instance in body 2. Make sure to keep a variety. Similarly, if you say considering the in body 1, body 2, use the other versions. Okay? Don't use repetition. And here in, for example, you would explain, for example, in most parts of North America or Europe, or places with high immigration like these, where the world is leaning towards, English is the main language, or it is the first language, which deems it necessary for us to teach our students English in schools to better their career options. And that's where you give an example with a little bit more detail. So you have the introduction, then a simple sentence, and then your example to wrap it up. This whole paragraph is focused on 1 point only. And then when you move to your point number 2, you do body 2, once again using this structure. And guys, you can see there's a combination of complex and simple sentences on purpose because the marking scheme tells you to exactly do that for the highest mark. If you just use complex sentences or just use simple sentences, you will lose marks. You need both together. Now, the other structure or the other strategy is to use 2 points per body, which is what I prefer. So this would mean that in body 1, you have 2 advantages for your opinion. Body 2, you have 2 disadvantages for the other side. So let's say I'm in my body 1 talking about my advantages. I'm going to start with a topic sentence. This is going to be one simple sentence, and it's simple. This is going to introduce my main point, which is going to be, in this case, it is obvious that career options seem more unlimited and more profitable if English is taught in schools or if the applicants speak fluent English. So that's my introduction. Now I'm going to use given the, considering, or based on. This is my complex sentence, which is similar to what I explained earlier. And now I'm going to explain, given the relevance of English in jobs and businesses in most metropolitan areas worldwide, it is important to include that as a strict curriculum in school, etc., etc. So that's going to be my second sentence. 2 sentences defining 1 point, and then 2 sentences coming up that will define the other point. Now, before I go to those 2 sentences, Let me again show you combination of complex and simple sentences, combination of simple and complex sentences. That is going to give you the most marks. You can also see, guys, that when I'm saying something like situation-based or topic sentence, I'm not really giving you words here like connectors or words that you can copy-paste in these cases, because I want you to be creative. If you use words here too that are copy-paste, it could be good if you use them effectively, but you also want to be natural and make sure they relate to the scenario. So make sure it's according to or appropriate to the given question or prompt. Now let's look at your next connector. In this case, you're changing points, so very easy to use connectors like moreover, likewise, furthermore. Pick one. Now you're going to explain the next point, and you would explain it in a short clause, something like furthermore. Speaking English also opens up business opportunities, which would relate to things like tutoring, singing, artistry, etc. Use a semicolon now. This is going to push you to a very advanced level of punctuation because only advanced users use semicolons. Semicolons break down a sentence into two parts. The first part is something you have already explained. Now, after the semicolon, you could add a little bit more point to this. So in this case, I would put semicolon, hence, comma, introducing such curriculum to schools will be a bliss for maximizing our students or youth's earning potentials. So you can, if you want to simplify it, just say hence or therefore instead of a semicolon. But if you put a semicolon simply before hence or therefore, it is the simplest and the best strategy to get another complex sentence and your marks for advanced punctuation, because only the best of the best use semicolons. So that would be your second point. This will be your first point. Follow the same structure when you go to body 2, and that is enough and more than enough for a 9 to 10, a high level writing for task 2. But go nowhere because we're going to discuss task 1 now. Now, mostly you get formal letters or emails in task 1, but in some cases you get informal emails too. You want to do 3 bodies, and the same goes for both informal and formal writings. In the informal sentences or bodies, when you start off your first sentence, you can start off with something like, to kick things off, let's, and here you would talk about whatever the matter is. Because before this body, you usually use your introduction for a greeting. Hey, how's it going? How are kids, family, etc. Now, after the greeting, you want to mention a flow where you say, hey, let's get into the topic we actually got to talk about. To kick things off, let's talk about the vacation that we're about to organize. Mention some points there relevant to the scenario. You can use these second versions if they're appropriate. It depends really on the scenario. In the scenario of a vacation, let's try to make it up. All right, so to kick things off, let's talk about the vacation that we're about to have. I believe the area near Banff would serve us well. The way I see it, with the nature and the accessibility, it's the best option for our family. So in this case, it fits perfectly. So I'm going to use it the way I see it. These are very informal words, very good and unique phrasing, so they are guaranteed to give you good marks. Once again, working on the flow, now you're going to use the word now instead of something formal like furthermore or moreover, because it's informal. Now let's dive into the food. I believe we should get this food. You can talk about the food items, and here it's very easy to say another thing is, and you can mention anything about the food. Another thing is to include an ingredient list, to look for soft drinks, to arrange whatever else with the food. In this case, it works really well. Finally, in body 3, you're going to be getting towards the final stages of your planning in this email, or in other cases too. To wrap it up, or in this case, I would change it slightly and say to wrap up the timing, I think just before it starts snowing, going at this week on this day would be the best option. What's also cool is right now you see the fall weather with beautiful trees and colors. So let's organize it this day. And these sentences or words or phrases help you to really get a smooth start, get advanced words in, and also have the best flow between your body paragraphs. Okay? You can also notice that the structure is 1, 2, 1, 2. Same thing goes in the formal emails. because I want you to make sure you do at least 2 sentences per body paragraph. That'll ensure you have enough coverage on each bullet point to give you the highest task response marks. Okay, let's talk about the formal email. Now here you usually start the introduction with the purpose. Assuming we have done or given our purpose already, you start your body one with words like "to begin with." So you say here, "to begin with, and let's assume it's a complaint letter, okay? You didn't like the food at a restaurant. So here you would define the scenario if that is what the bullet point is asking you to do. To begin with, we went with my family and I at this date, this place. Initially, we were surprised at the server being really rude to us, whatever." Okay, so that would be your initial experience if you have those steps, like initially, and you have that question with the setting talking about first thing and second thing and so on. If not, adjust it accordingly. Usually a good connector like likewise, moreover is good enough here. But if it doesn't even need a connector, if it just needs further description of what you've begun with, then just add it accordingly. Just make sure it's natural. Body 2. Furthermore, good flow, and that is going to start off your next point, whatever your next point is. In addition to that, it is just a connector, again, adding another point in body 2. When you are going to body 3, things get interesting because there are so many scenarios and situations. Now, if you are going to a suggestion phase where you are going from body 2 mentioning the problems to body 3 mentioning the solutions, you start with "to rectify this" or "to fix this." Very advanced wordings too, and very appropriate for the flow as we're moving towards the end. You can also use words like "finally" or "overall." Those are more general, applied for most scenarios, and nevertheless would be used if you again go completely opposite. Like you could also use it going from problems to solutions. Nevertheless, here are the things we need to work on. Or if you are going from someone's recommendations, their weaknesses, and then strengths. Nevertheless, the strengths of Mr. John were, so it's very appropriate in those cases when you're making a switch. And in body 3, you sometimes are. Now, this will, and again, this is usually very useful in, I would say, 80% scenarios. It fits really nicely. It is not a connector like "overall" or "finally," because here you want to elaborate on what you said just before the sentence. So in case I am recommending the restaurant to rectify the rat problem by implementing rat traps or medicine, then the next sentence should explain why. So this will help completely eliminate the rat problem within 1 to 2 weeks and will allow you to have a better business as well as good reviews. And that will help me explain my why and how, which is often something people miss. They mostly just give the reasoning or the points without the reasoning. This will, and when you say this, this will help you push yourself to do the reasoning, and it really is good for a really nice flow, as well as the ending to wrap up the reasoning. So guys, make sure you use these words and phrases and see how better your writing sounds when you copy paste these words in Logic. Please subscribe, like, and share. We'll be uploading more videos like this in the next coming week.